The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And I don't have my mic on.
Might help if you put it on.
Okay. Okay.
I feel like I'm back at the news desk.
Yeah, that's it. Back at the news desk. Okay, it is Friday in the Rev, and let's get this show on the road.
And just for our viewers' knowledge, there is no show on Monday because it's Columbus Day or Happy Indigenous Person Day or whatever wokey title you want to use for it.
Okay.
So we're off.
It's a holiday.
It's a holiday. So let's get right off the bat to something the mayor asked for. The mayor asked for documents. Remember?
Yes.
Said it in the article. He wanted documents. Right out of your own computer, Mr. Mayor. Right out of your own computer. It says right here. City of Fall River, Massachusetts, fiscal year ended June 30, 2022, municipal budget. Right out of your computers. So let's look at what they're alleging. Now, according to Council President Cliff Ponte, there was a $4.5 million in ARPA funding used to fill the budget gap. The state Department of Revenue advised the city that they miscalculated what they could use in lost revenue because they failed to include the Chapter 70 money in their revenue. So, the base year's revenue was $328,656,313. The growth rate was 4.1%, equaling $349,074,459. The actual revenue was $346,256,918, which results in a deficit of, drum roll please, $2,817,541. The amount that they used to balance the budget was $4,509,378. Leaving a total deficit of $1,682,459. Add to that the $1.6 million added to the schools gives you a current year budget deficit of $3,282,459. There's your documents, Mr. Mayor. There's your documents. There's the proof. This comes right off the ARPA revenue replacement calculator and the city's budget.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously there's a problem. We all knew this, and listen, we've had some. We talked about this on a show. We talked about this on our first show about 9 years ago. We talked about following the money.
Right.
And you know the problem is that there's a lot of kind of covering for this, and this is why we need a forensic audit. But I'm going to read an excerpt from something here. And I think because we had some people saying that it wasn't, you know, this isn't the mayor's budget, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, let me just read this. Councilor Michelle M. Dion stated that the budget is not sustainable. She stated that the revenue is less than the expenditures, and it is only balanced by using one-time funds and opera money. She further stated that there is a lack of equity with some of the proposed salary increases and is not in agreement with them. Councilor Dion also stated that throughout the budget meetings that these reasons were specific and the items as grounds for rejection of the 22 budget. city administrator stated that the rejection of the entire budget is ambiguous and there was no specificity in the motion to reject it. Well, didn't you say the city administrator went to law school?
Yeah.
But he never took the bar?
You're right.
Now I know why, because he doesn't. Now I know why, because he doesn't know the meaning of ambiguous.
Right.
A rejection is not really ambiguous. It's pretty. It's pretty finite.
definite,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty definite action. Then it goes on to say that Councilor Dion then asked if the budget would be legitimate if elements of the budget violate city ordinance, which is a very good question. She stated that salary increases and water sewer rates had not been approved through through ordinance, and those increases were reflected in the budget. Then it goes on to say, Councilor Sean Kadim stated that ordinances are being violated by the administration, and then he went on to talk about structural deficits. But these are all excerpts from things, and I'll get some more excerpts. But
From a city council meeting.
So when the mayor tries to pretend that nobody knew, or that the council didn't attempt to try to pass a budget that didn't have these issues, he's lying. It's that simple. He's lying. Because we watched it on television.
That's right.
And there are the statements.
And remember, Paul doesn't lie.
Yeah.
Paul always follows the law, but that only applies when it's convenient
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
Because obviously, the ordinances regarding salaries wasn't convenient for him. The ordinances regarding the water and sewer rates wasn't convenient for him.
And
I guess the law only applies when Paul Coogan says it applies. So this is the mayor of the law and order mayor.
And yeah, and just for the sake of clarity, let me read to the audience what these documents say. The first document that you read from was the opera revenue replacement calculator. And the second document is headed the City of Fall River, Massachusetts fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022 municipal budget. So, you know, we're not creating these documents. You know what I think? Rather than having a forensic audit, why don't we just hire Kenny Fiola to look all this over and see
Yeah.
and give him another job?
Why not?
Which will segue into another thing later on. But I think this is huge. Listen, the mayor is going to dump a tax increase on you. It may be delayed, no matter how they plug it up. The bottom line is this budget was not funded adequately. It was not a real budget. It's smoke and mirrors like all municipal budgets are. And he can't say he didn't know it, because before he got into office, I said that to all the people on a financial committee. I said all municipal budgets are nothing more than smoke and mirrors. They're political documents. They're not real budgets. When they want to appear poor, they appear poor. When they want to appear rich, when they want to get a better bond rating, they manipulate numbers. This is the reason that this city needs a full forensic audit, so everybody, the citizens and the city council and the mayor, can know exactly where we stand financially, and we haven't had that in years. 91, the arbitrator said the city's books were in a total state of disarray, and they remain in a total state of disarray, because that was said after a forensic audit of just the healthcare piece. And so,
Oh, you mean the piece they want to keep taking money out of?
yeah, the piece they want to, because and by the way, that arbitration, the city's defense was, we made a mistake and we're going to fix it. Let me see, 91, 21, that's like 30 years later, and they still haven't fixed it. What, the city lied again about finances?
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Well, look, you know what, as Ricky Ricardo once told Lucy, Paulie, you got a lot of splaining to do.
Now, on this budget deficit, I want to make it very clear. Cliff Ponte did not ever say that the mayor is going to lay people off, that their debt exclusion is going to be used, or that stabilization money is going to be used. He said the options available to the mayor are the layoff of personnel, the use of the stabilization money, or the use of the debt exclusion. So contrary to Paul's, again, lie, in the Herald News that he wants to see the documents of the layoffs or the documents of, or the order for the debt exclusion. He never said that. He said the options available to him are, and you wanted the documents? There are the documents. We're not going to play games anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah, I believe that Councilor Ponte was just saying what the options were
Right.
to plug it. I mean, and these are real options. Something has to be done because you got to pay the bills, unfortunately. And he also called out, and I was glad to hear it, he called out the Herald News about that article that we said was skewed.
Right.
And again, there's another skewed article that we'll get into later, that they seem to be his own private
Press
secretaries
Yeah.
and press agents here, because they're giving him all kinds of headlines. And but the key is that who are the victims of this fiasco, this political fiasco? You, the citizens of Fall River. We continue to go on the road to ultimate receivership. They're not only putting your grandchildren in hock with all the bonds and all the holes that they make, because ultimately, when they're gone, they're kicking the can down the road. Somebody, at some point in time, is going to have to pay the bills. If you want to dance, you ultimately have to pay the band. And when that band starts collecting, we are going to be in receivership for the second time, because Fall River was in receivership way back even before we were born. But Fall River was in receivership at one point in time. And it looks like we're well on our way, because I said decades ago, when Sean Kadim was the city administrator, he sat in a meeting in Boston and said that the city was $500 million in debt. And that was decades ago. So I don't even know how much money we're in debt right now. And if all our bills became due, if all our bonds became due, we would be in receivership. This is why we need an audit. We have been spending, and we are spending far more money than we have. And only the government gets to do that. You see, you and I have to just, you can't pay the bills? Well, guess what? You can't eat. You can't put a roof on your house. You can't fix your car. But the government just keeps kicking the can down the road, raising your taxes and fees, and sticking their fingers in the holes in the dike like the little Dutch boy. Therein lies the problem. And you know what it is? It's that cavalier attitude they have. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about it, because remember we made the analogy about how they feel about things when they have this, like, go to Russia. You don't like it, go to Russia. The superintendent who...
Matt Malone quote.
Yeah, Matt Malone, who he covered with and accused himself and his cronies covered for this cretin who was a criminal, and they allowed him to stay there. You know, his attitude for people is that cavalier attitude. You don't like it, move to Russia. And then what did Paul say? You disagree with me? Go jump in the Taunton River.
Yep.
But you know, the individual I talked to brought up another good point. It was something I forgot about all his friends. And before I give you this one, I'll remind you of the quote I talk about, the Castilian quote. Tell me who you walk with, and I'll tell you who you are. Well, another person who's involved with the Coon administration just got appointed to a board, made another quote. Reminded me of that, CJ. And I went, yeah, you know something? When she said that, I dismissed it as just, she's just a dip. You know, but she wasn't involved actually in the process. She wasn't a politician, but now she's a board member. But you remember when someone said, if you can't afford the debt override, sell your house and move out of Fall River?
Yes, I do.
And who was that?
Wasn't that Dawn Surratt?
Wasn't that? And what position does she hold now?
She's now on the Port Authority.
Well, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So I guess everybody in his administration has that same attitude, that cavalier attitude. If you can't afford it, sell your house and go away. Go jump in a river or go to Russia. Go buy a house in Moscow. We don't care about you people. I guess Paul and his banker friends and his lawyer friends don't realize that the majority of people who live in Fall River are poor.
That's right.
They live in apartments. You know, the majority of people in Fall River are not homeowners, number one. Wake up. I'm not even going to give you the stats. I got them. But you take your time. Do your own research. Get on the U.S. Census Bureau and look at how many owner-occupied buildings we have. Look how many people we have living in apartments. And then have some compassion for those people that are trying to pay their rents, which are now going up through the ceiling because of all the absentee landlords that are buying properties.
And all the market rate housing.
And all the market rate housing that is coming in. But you know something? Paul Coogan doesn't care about those people. He's putting 120 grand in the bank every year while he's living on his pension.
That's
for
it.
4 years.
That's it.
And all his friends who are the elitists, it's a tale of two cities. The majority of people who live in Fall River. So you know what the moral of that story is? All right, silent majority, poor majority, get out and vote.
That's it. That's it. Well, as you mentioned earlier about Ken Fiola, Fiola got another job.
Yes.
Imagine that. According to the Herald News, there's no shenanigans as Jazel Correa heads to prison. Coogan overhauls the pot shop process. He's appointing a committee.
Ooh, a committee.
A committee.
Of bankers and lawyers?
No, actually, of
okay.
People that are already within the city, the city functions here.
I was being facetious.
I know you were, but it gets to be very interesting. So the Coogan administration is creating the process of creating the Advisory Fall River Cannabis Review Commission that will impanel the city's police chief, the city planner, the Board of Health, a city councilor, and a city resident with medical background. And I hope that's not somebody who has a degree in fashion.
City councilor, can I get a guess?
I'm assuming probably either Brad Kilby or Linda Pereira.
Yeah, good guess. Well, you guess. You can take Brad, I'll take Linda.
Okay.
And one of us will be right.
One of us will be right. And they'll all be appointed by the mayor. The administration's also developed an 11-page application, which is the first step in the process, which never existed before. Now, here's the key. The mayor also hired Bristol County Economic Development Consultants to perform the initial vetting of potential applicants before a recommendation is sent to the new Cannabis Review Board. BCEDC Vice President Ken Fiola said his agency will be tasked with the duties like reviewing the financial strength of a proposed cannabis business, locations and zoning status, and the number of jobs to be created. After a review of the application, BCEDC will forward a recommendation of the applicant to the cannabis panel, which will hold further reviews and send its own recommendations to the mayor's office.
Well, I'm protesting that because I think it's ambiguous and has no specificity. Because I don't know if there's no shenanigans. Kenny Fiola seems to be getting all the jobs.
I know he's also controlling the city pier.
And so there's no. Is that a shenanigan?
Looks like to me.
Are all the people here?
And remember, remember what Paul said when he got into office.
Yeah.
There will be no old boy network people.
Oh yeah.
And guess what we got?
All we've had.
All the old boy network, including Ken Fiola.
And I think I've got to highlight something that's really, really important in this article because it seems like a promo for Coogan and all the great things he's doing right before the election because there's no shenanigans. But, you know, if we don't like it, we can jump in the river. The Taunton River's not that far away anyway. Or we can move to Russia, whatever. But this board is advisory.
Right.
So it still means that the main man is still the main man.
There's another thing about the advisory committees. Because it's advisory, it's not open.
That's right.
It's another meeting that's closed.
Yes.
Imagine that.
You mean like
Talk
the
about
opera? Like the opera stuff?
Yeah, talk about backdoor dealings. You know what I mean?
I don't know how you could ever think that.
I know, how could I think such a thing would happen
How
in Fall
could this
River?
administration stoop to not being transparent? But then again, there are no shenanigans here
Nope.
because the Herald News, who basically just gave a kind of a cursory line to Ponte in that article about Paul, and they put all Paul's numbers as they were facts. It was good to see them called out in that speech. And now that we have these numbers, let's see what happens. I think there should be probably a state investigation of this thing. You know, DOR, I think they should get, maybe even the feds. Let's see if there's any shenanigans going on.
Exactly, exactly.
In this area.
You know, it's just making for interesting, you know, and isn't it amazing that all of this comes out when? During the election cycle.
Of course, yeah.
Always.
All these things are doing. Where was the overhaul? You know, we talked about what was done during the COVID, and he said nothing, going out and pass out masks.
Right.
When we know Taunton streamlined their permitting processes.
Exactly.
And did many other things to help the public and help businesses
Right.
and help the city move forward. Why didn't they utilize their time to come up with this during a pandemic? Probably it's just a coincidence.
And what's the one thing that we've been complaining about for the longest time here in Fall River, and we hear it directly from Linda Pereira all the time? We need to streamline our process.
Yeah, that's right.
For businesses. Do you know that if you try to open a business in New Bedford, you go into a meeting room and every department is represented?
Yeah.
Everything you need is told to you at that meeting, and you know exactly where you stand before you even walk out the door trying to apply for a permit. Because these are the things you need to get your permits, to get things in order and whatnot, and you're told. You're told. And they even tell you about if there's going to be a TIF applied. They talk about it all, and it's all very open.
Well, isn't it amazing that we're bracketed? We have Taunton, which is far smaller than Fall River, and it's now streamlined their process. We have New Bedford, and here's Fall River, and that all we've done about that process is talk about it for about 6
That's all we
years.
ever do.
That's all they ever do. All they ever do is talk about stuff, and then there's going to be no shenanigans during the campaign season. But
Let's just talk about it.
yeah.
Well, and we will close on a Jazel Correa story. Again, this is getting to be nauseating. Jazel's co-conspirator, Hildegard Camara, has asked the judge to recoup the $50,000 he lost in the Snow Owl scheme. He says that he invested his life savings into that Snow Owl scheme, and as such, as a victim of the Snow Owl scheme, he should be entitled to $50,000 in restitution. He is asking the judge to declare him a victim. That way he can get it. Hildegard Camara, once appointed by former mayor to the head of the Bristol County Training Consortium, filed a petition on Tuesday in U.S. District Court. I read that petition. Let me tell you something. It's got good standing. It really does. He's cited enough that it could be possible that he gets listed as a victim and maybe get his money back. Camara's attorney, Paul Kelly, claimed in court documents that Camara lost his entire investment in Snow Owl. None of the people who put hundreds of thousands of dollars into developing Correa's smartphone app ever saw a return on their investment. Testimony during Correa's trial revealed that Correa used their money to buy expensive trips, et cetera, and we knew all that.
Yeah. But,
what he said, what his attorney said was, quote, "There is no evidence that Camara participated in or was complicit in any manner with Correa's fraudulent Snow Owl scheme. In short, he was uninvolved in Correa's wrongful conduct involving Snow Owl, other than as an unsophisticated and innocent investor."
yeah.
That's exactly what the motion reads.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand it reads well, but I would, based on the way what the judge did with throwing out some of those other things, I'm not, hey, look, it's a subjective decision. But I don't know whether being an unsophisticated and innocent investor, that means that if I am if I bet on a three-legged horse in a Kentucky Derby and it doesn't win, that I get my bet back because I'm an unsophisticated better? I don't know. I mean, you know, there was an old saying that when you go to court, you can't plead ignorance because ignorance is not a defense.
That's right.
In a courtroom. So this is going to be a very interesting thing. If this thing, if like you said, obviously he's pleading the case. That's what they do. But I'm not sure if being, innocence is okay. But if that's good phraseology, unsophisticated rather than stupid. He was really a stupid investor, because to invest in a kid that, and not doing your homework, well, again, that opens the kind of door. If they win that case, I'm going to try to get every bet I ever lost back.
Well, the thing is that when the judge made the restitution order, Judge Woodlock made the restitution order, he said the reason why Camara and Costa were excluded from restitution was because they were co-conspirators in the extortion scheme. But again, this is what Camara is saying. He's not involved in the Snow Owl scheme.
No,
but in the extortion scheme, he was.
Yeah.
So he accepts his responsibility there. But in Snow Owl, he believes he was taken advantage of and he wants his money back.
I understand. Yeah, and I understand. And like I said, it's a good pleading because they're actually, they fashioned this in response to the way the judges ruled.
Exactly.
So now they've got a shot at it, which is to me amazing that you're getting a shot. It's like saying that everybody who lost their life savings in the stock market, they were unsophisticated.
Right.
So, but like you said, this is a very narrow, issue. And what they did was they took that plea, and they fashioned it based on the judge's ruling.
Right.
So like you said, I think it's going to be interesting to see. This stuff it's really fun to watch because this is why this is not going to go away until for a long time.
Well, December 3rd, we know what's going to happen.
Yes. They're coming to take me away.
They're coming to take me away, haha. They're coming to take me. Actually, he's going to put himself in because in the federal system, you've got to turn yourself in.
That's right. That's right. But, yeah, we're running short. So listen, there are other things. I'm going to probably post it. We have some other stuff that I read, but it's, we've got too much. Those minutes are from a public hearing on September 14th. And Mary Sahadi's statements we received that were highlighted, but we will post those for your, so everybody can read these statements rather than, because sometimes in the show you can't really do it. We'll post.
We can't do it justice.
Stuff. We can't do it justice.
And Chip's fingers get in the way sometimes.
That's right. These big mitts are sometimes difficult to deal with on that kind of stuff. So.
Well, just once again for everyone's consideration, on Monday we will not be having a show. On Wednesday we will be back here in the studio. And the way it looks right now, on Friday we're going to go back to remote for a day because our new producer, or our old producer, or whatever the case may be, has a day off. Imagine that. He gets a day off.
That's outrageous.
It's outrageous. I know, taking a day off. You might think he works for the government. And on October 29th at 6 p.m. here at Bristol Community College is the Lincoln Douglas debate between Paul Coogan and Cliff Ponte. So keep that in mind and make sure you come. If you do, you must wear a mask in the building. Once again, thanks for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Have a great weekend.
And don't forget to vote.